Welcome to the Upside Podcast, powered by Upside Global and hosted by Julian Blinn, founder and CEO of Upside Global. The Upside Podcast is listened to weekly by over 6,000 sports and tech executives from all sports leagues and teams in the United States and around the world. Julian has been developing technologies for professional sports teams for over 10 years and has worked for major tech companies along with sports tech startups. In each episode, Julian interviews global leaders in sports to share knowledge on emerging technology in the sports industry and how these technologies can help improve the performance of individuals and organizations, both on and off the playing field. And now here's your host, Julian Blinn.
So today we have the honor of interviewing Michael Ross, the CEO of Nice Recovery System, a leading manufacturer of performance and recovery devices with an expertise in cooling. So Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Julian. I appreciate it.
Great. Well, it's great to have you on the show. So could you start by telling us about your background?
My background. Well, I'm what we in the U.S. call a serial entrepreneur.
Yep.
This company, Nice Recovery Systems, is, I think, my fifth venture.
Yep.
And it really came out of my own need for a recovery device. Back in 2010, I was a master's ski racer, particularly focused on the speed events, downhill. And I had a pretty horrific ski crash.
Mm-hmm.
And during my recovery from multiple surgeries, I was using a cold therapy device and, had to keep filling it with ice. And that was quite difficult given that I was on crutches and, found it very inconvenient. So I started to get this idea in my head to make a cold therapy device that didn't use ice. And that's kind of was the genesis of Nice, which kind of started from the no ice idea. And so after that crash and laying in a hospital bed for a little while and then at home recovering, just started to come up with the idea. And by 2014, we had filed with the FDA in the United States. And by 2015, we were under full-scale production. And we've been making it really since 2015. We've probably, the Nice One device has been our primary product. And we've been we've made about, I guess, around 18,000 of them so far.
18,000.
So, and now just starting really to break in to the EU and the rest of the world. So it was primarily a product for the US market. And then about a year ago, we got clearance to sell in the EU. We got through what's called the MDR, the medical device regulations in Europe. And so we're pretty excited about expanding our horizons.
And that new device, that's great. Yeah, because you need to get all the regulation and trade, all that. So how many ideation of that product did you have to make, I guess?
Oh, wow. So there was a lot of ideations early on. We haven't changed the product really much since our actual launch, but prior to that, during the years where we were going through development, which were kind of 2011 through 2013, a lot of different iterations. It's kind of an approach. We take a very iterative approach to inventions here. And but once we arrived at the final form factor and the general technology, it's been pretty consistent, really. Very few changes. It's been a pretty solid product.
That's great. I mean, hardware is hard, right? It's always harder. I mean, I used to work at Zebra, and we're making handheld devices, tablets, wearables. It's fun, but it's not easy, right?
So the improvements for us have just been mostly incremental. When you get something in the market, especially a product that's primarily used by the general public, like most of our customers are really going to be people that, the average person that plays pickleball and needs a knee replacement. I mean, that's really as much as I love dealing with professional sports, which is obviously, it's fun and it's interesting. It's really the 2 million or so people getting joint replacements that really make up our primary market. And so we're going to get feedback from that person that's recovering at home, whether there's usability issues, because you have someone at home who has just gotten out of surgery. They're probably on some type of narcotic.
Yeah.
So making sure that the device has really a high level of usability is really critical. So the incremental changes that we make are really generally associated with how do we make it easier for the average person to use at a time when they're going through, stress and pain.
Yeah.
So, and we're there to hopefully reduce that and make that a better journey for them.
And you told me, I think, a way back that the product, the pump cooling device, was designed by Porsche. Is that right?
Yeah. Okay. So Palm Cooling is really our second product. We've been this single product company and laser focused on recovery for so long.
Yeah.
And then the Palm Cooling device really came out of listening to a Huberman Labs podcast one day.
Yep.
Where he was interviewing Dr. Heller from Stanford and talking about palm cooling and these incredible results that they were getting with athletes doing palm cooling. And then they showed me what they were actually doing for the palm cooling, and it was a similar kind of epiphany for me. They're using ice, they're using water, they're using a big, bulky device that's hard to carry around and not very convenient. So while you have this modality that works really well, if you don't have a product that delivers that modality in a convenient and easy to use way, that modality is just not going to get any uptake. And that's why palm cooling has remained this fringe, modality, even though it works. It works every time. I've seen it work every time. So then I thought to myself, well, we have the technology to do cooling. And since we're just cooling palms, we don't need water as a medium. We can just use these cooling devices that we use directly on the palms. So that's when we started, okay, let's make the device, let's make a working device.
Yeah.
So we made a working device, and then we thought to ourselves, well, let's make it, now we need to make it look good because it's a consumer device.
Yeah.
And that's where the one area where perhaps our expertise ends is in industrial design. Making things look really good. That's not necessarily our expertise. And that's why, that's when I had the idea, why not reach out to Porsche? And I contacted Porsche Design, and they have a fantastic industrial designer that they connected us within their organization. And yeah, it turned out to be great. So Porsche is responsible for the look and feel.
Yeah.
And our internal engineers are responsible for the actual performance of the product, which at the end of the day is the most important part. But it was certainly a nice experience for us to also start thinking in terms of, why not make everything look good if you can?
Yeah.
Apple does, and they also make things that work great. So,
for sure. Now you said you got two products, right? The first one.
Today today we have the Nice One, which is our cold and compression therapy device, which is a Class 2 medical device.
Yeah.
And that's manufactured in our medical device facility here in Boulder, Colorado. And then right next door to it is where we're manufacturing the Rock.
Yeah.
The Nice Rock, which is our direct-to-consumer device, which isn't a medical grade. But we use all the same quality systems. It's just not audited by the FDA.
Yep.
So they're both made in Boulder, Colorado, right next door to each other.
And what's the difference in price for those two products?
So the Nice One is obviously a much more expensive product. It's a much more complicated product because it's doing cold and compression.
Yep.
So that's a product that is gonna retail for more around the $4,000 range.
Yeah.
Whereas the Rock is retailing for $975.
Yeah.
Much less complex. It's not medical grade, so it doesn't have the same kind of strict quality control. But certainly made with that same spirit. But the Nice One, generally we don't when we sell them, we're generally selling them to distributors who rent them to patients. Again, the biggest market for the Nice One is somebody who just had orthopedic surgery and they have a month of recovery and they don't want to use ice. So they rent the device from one of our distribution partners, whether it's at hospital for special surgery or the Stedman Clinic or Carolyn Jobe. We have partners all over the country and now all over the world. We have a service center in France now to service the whole EU. It's growing.
Now, could you summarize for me like the main use cases of how and where those different devices get used and for what purpose?
Yeah. So again, the nice one is an injury recovery device. It's used primarily post-surgical.
Yeah.
For that really critical period right after surgery where you're dealing with pain and inflammation, and you don't necessarily want to deal with ice packs and ACE bandages. And that's kind of where that product comes in, and it's a prescription device. So the orthopedic surgeon writes a script for that. So the use case primarily is post-surgical, but also we're working with a lot of pro ski teams that are traveling a lot, and it's very compact, and they want to know that wherever they go, they won't have an issue with ice.
Yeah.
We work with football clubs. Again, a lot of it is when they're traveling and they have athletes that have, let's say, knee issues or shoulder issues or ankle issues where they do need to do icing and deal with inflammation. The use case for the Rock is really multiple, but in a sports setting, again, if we look at European football as an example, or American football, it's going to be primarily used during the halftime. And the whole idea is that you have just a fixed amount of time to rest during halftime to get ready for the second half. And using the Rock during halftime is going to allow the athletes to lower their core temperature more than they would otherwise, and lower their heart rate more than they would otherwise. So the clinical studies kind of show that by palm cooling during halftime, let's say for 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, you're going to end up with approximately 1 degree lower core temperature and approximately 15 beats per minute lower heart rate. So it's basically like getting more rest. It's as if you had a longer halftime. So you're hitting the second half with a lower core temperature and a lower heart rate. That's going to last almost throughout the entire second half. So the expectation is, and the clinical research supports this, is that the athlete will have a higher mean output, a higher max output, and a better performance in the second half. So that's kind of how a sports team might utilize that in a game situation. In a training situation, it's different, especially in resistive training, because then you're doing the palm cooling not only to lower your core temperature, but to lower the temperature of your working muscle. So for example, if you're doing resistive training, using the Rock in between sets is going to lower the temperature of those working muscles, and it's going to allow you to get more volume in your workout. So you're going to get 20 to 30% more reps in, which will ultimately result in hypertrophy or strength gains. And according to the Stanford research, they did a direct comparison between palm cooling and anabolic steroids, and found that palm cooling actually outperformed it.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually quoted in Dr. Heller's research. So again, it's hard to believe, right? Just cooling your palms can do all this, but it's grounded in a fair amount of research, that goes back to the late 90s with the Royal Navy and DARPA, where they were looking originally at palm cooling as a way to keep soldiers cooling in the hot environments. Obviously, we've decided to fight wars in pretty hot places, and for soldiers operating in these forward operating bases where they have really almost no means to cool down and no ability to remove their 100 pounds of gear. What are the options available to them? And so palm cooling kind of emerged from that acute need of the military to begin with.
I could definitely see that, right? In the desert, or Afghanistan or Iraq, or it's crazy hot, right? So I guess,
And to tell you, and we have another product that's really in design right now, which we'll hopefully have by the end of the year, where we focus strictly on those hot environments. So the challenge is, how do you get a device in, let's say, 40 degrees C or, 110 degrees Fahrenheit. How do you make a device that can actually cool in this extremely hot ambient environment? So we've been developing a device that's going to be able to reach our target temperature. And I should say the target temperature for palm cooling is cool, not freezing, right? So you want to be kind of in, somewhere between 10 and 13 degrees C, around somewhere between 50 and 60 degrees Fahrenheit. You want to be cold enough to cool the blood, but not so cold that you cause vasoconstriction. So you really have to be, so precision is somewhat important here in the cooling technology.
And that's a good point, because I was, and I won't disclose the name of the palm cooling technology companies, but one of the feedback that I received was that the device was freezing the hands. And you can imagine as a golfer, right? That's a problem, right? It was too cold. And then the athlete didn't like it.
Yeah, so and then that's the other important thing about palm cooling is that you actually focus on the palms, because the palms is where the vasculature is that you want to focus on. This is where these arterial venous anastomoses are, which are directly connecting your arterial blood to your venous blood and basically bypassing capillaries. Capillaries are where the problem is, because once you start running blood through these really narrow pathways, there's going to be friction and resistance, which is going to heat the blood up. But if the blood is just going through these wide pathways, arteries and veins, then it's going to stay cool, because there isn't going to be that friction or resistance. And so you don't want a device that's going to cool the fingertips. We're not doing the fingertips. The fingertips, for example, basketball players, they need to keep their fingertips nimble. Golfers need to keep their fingertips nimble.
Tennis too.
Yeah, so one of the key kind of design requirements as we were designing it, we didn't want to make something that you gripped. We wanted to make something that you just held in the palms of your hands. And that was kind of a critical aspect for us in the way we designed it. And some of the other products, honestly, they rely on the grip. They still work, some of them, they still work pretty well. I'm happy to see that, that we are developing a somewhat vibrant community of people making products for palm cooling, because we want every price point covered, right? Some people, there's going to be a lot of people that don't have the disposable income to spend close to $1,000 on a palm cooling device. And so there are devices that they can buy that are more in the $90 range. And then there's our device they can buy in the $250 range. And so it's great. It should be, I think a rising tide will lift all ships here. The science is legitimate. The modality works. Whenever people try it, they can see that it works. So I think the more that we have a vibrant community of people supplying the products, of researchers continuing the research. I know that Dr. Heller is continuing his research at Stanford and looking at how palm cooling affects lactate. How palm cooling can affect, delayed onset muscle soreness. And then you have here at the University of Colorado, there's been some great studies going on, not published yet, where they're showing that palm cooling can greatly improve fluid retention and hydration. Yeah. Okay, so they were finding much less fluid loss through sweat in the groups that were doing palm cooling. And so hopefully that research is going to get published sometime soon.
Now, on that, you mentioned there's different form factors, different modalities, sometimes smaller, right? I've seen some electrical system where I felt like they missed the mark on the power, right? Because if it's smaller, then you need to provide more power, and you don't have enough cooling if you don't have enough power. Is that a fair assumption?
It's a very fair assumption. Look, different size human hands have different power requirements, really, right? You want to move watts. At the end of the day, that's what we're doing. We're removing watts of heat. So you can't underpower it. So for the average athlete, you're going to probably need to remove somewhere around 40 watts of heat per hand. And so that's significant, that's a significant amount of power. So it means if it's a battery operated device like ours, you need a fair amount of lithium batteries. You need to architect it and design it so that not only can it, do you have the power in the system, but the power is efficiently used. So hopefully for every watt of power that I put in, I'm getting close to a watt of cooling. Otherwise you lose your efficiency and then you have to build a really big device.
Yep. Now you talked earlier about the palm cooling market, but how would you describe the state of the market right now? I mean, you said there's different price point, different form factor, which is great. You know, people for different, we have different budgets. How would you describe the market right now?
Nascent. It's just beginning. And I think it's just beginning because this is going to be, look, at the high end of the market, if you're selling into a sports scientist, not a problem because they understand the science, they understand the physiology, they understand that if your product does X, the result is going to be Y.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, for our business and for the other businesses, you need a broader market. And for that broader market, it's going to be really education, which takes time. It's going to be people seeing it in the hands of people they trust. So if they start to look at the sidelines of an NFL game or on the bench of an NBA game, in our case, we had a number of a couple of hockey teams using it during the playoffs.
And I know some of them.
Actually. Yeah, but it's hard to see in a hockey game. It's hard to see because where they sit, they have a high wall. But in an NBA game, so if people start seeing it out there being used by people who are professional athletes, who who they'll rely on for doing the research and understanding the science, and so that'll help pull people along who maybe don't have access to a sports scientist or a strength and conditioning coach, who are just somebody, let's say, going to the gym that wants to, that's, let's say, plateauing because, they've been working out for 20 years and maybe they can't break through this plateau of a bench press that they're going for. So number one, for the broader market, we're going to need to first see an adoption by the professionals and a real, in a visible way, which I think will happen over the next 12 months.
Yep.
We already have professional baseball teams using it. The Yankees, this year, as I mentioned, the Avalanche, the Red Wings, the Ducks were all using it in the middle of the playoffs. The Avalanche started really using it in the middle of the playoffs. So it obviously is something that they trusted. And then for the broader public, some of it's going to be experiential. You almost have to find a way to make it available to people to try. Because honestly, almost every time I've seen someone try it, I see them blow through a personal record. They do something that they weren't able to do before. And it's a little bit wild to see it happen. Even, when we took it to Brian Shaw for the first time, Brian was strongest man on earth for a number of years. I think he's probably, I think he's about 6'7", 6'8". He's a giant human. And it was really interesting for us to see, can we remove enough heat from someone this big? And, again, with Brian, we took it to his gym. He chose an exercise where he had a really, a strong reference point for. We cooled his hands for 2 minutes between sets. And an experienced lifter like him was doing things that he didn't expect to be able to do. That was kind of stunning to see. And so then we sponsored Brian's Strongest Man on Earth event, which happens in Colorado now every year. And it was amazing to see these athletes in the middle of a competition, people like Hafthor Bjornsson, who's one of the most famous kind of strength athletes in the world. Kind of at the beginning, they were looking at the rock and thinking, what is this strange thing? And then one of them tried it, and then the next one tried it. And then in the middle of a competition, a very important competition, actually, I think it's got the highest prize money for any of the strength events. They started using it. All of them. And it was kind of really for me, very gratifying to see something that I had worked on so hard, but sometimes you're working in a vacuum and you lose sight of why you're making it and who you're making it for, because you're just focused on making something great.
Yeah.
and you sometimes forget. And to see it, to see these guys just really take it on in the middle of a really important competition was very gratifying.
I'm sure it's a good feeling, right? You spend some
It's a
time
great feeling, yeah.
and then top athletes are really see the benefit of it.
Yeah, and it's gratifying because we're here making stuff in America. We're employing people here locally. We have, I think, 35 people now here whose families rely on this job for their families. And, it's gratifying that, that we can create a livelihood for that many people, hopefully many more in the future.
Now, so on that, like, how far do you want to take this company moving forward? How big do you think it's going to be?
I don't always think in those terms. I kind of am more, let's just keep doing great things, and
Yeah.
let's keep being let's be good actors. Let's have really high expectations of ourselves, and have a high level of integrity, and be committed to making stuff here in the United States.
Yeah.
And it'll always work out if you just kind of keep following those things. I don't, we're already a successful business, but we've been a single product company for so long, and now we have all these other products that are in the pipeline that are going to start releasing. The Nice Rock was, just released. Really, honestly, we just started full scale manufacturing within the last 2 weeks, and so those are going to start shipping now.
Yeah.
We have another medical device which will be launched by the end of the year. We have actually a percussion gun device, which is still kind of a little bit top secret, which has a new technology, which will be is currently going through a patent process.
Yeah.
So we're, in the next 12 months, we're going to have 5 products.
It's great.
Yeah. So anyway, it's fun. Every day I get to work, I love it. Like, why would I stop doing this if every day I come to work and I'm excited to be here and everybody else is excited to be here? That's very gratifying, and and it'll all work out in the end if we just keep following these kind of, our North Star, really.
And what excites you the most about your job? I mean, is it to build products that people use, to the value, or like you said, you create?
Yeah, that's what I love. I love sitting with the engineers.
Yep.
And discussing ideas. And what we do here, which is really fun, is we, as I mentioned before, we iterate.
Yeah.
So we can make products like, for example, the Rocket, which is our extreme temperature version of the Rock, which is going to operate in extremely high temperature settings.
Yeah.
That was a concept that I just kind of sat down with the engineers with one day, and within 3 months we had a working prototype.
3 months.
Fully working. Yeah.
But
and so now we're iterating off of that prototype. So we're like, okay, we know it works now. So now how do we make it for the market? Like, what it should be, the form factor, what should be the shape? How long should the battery life be? How should it have a replaceable battery like a power tool, or should it just, have a certain. So now we go through the refining process, but we can do that with all kinds of products. We're working on a DVT prophylaxis product now too, which is just strictly a medical product, like for post-surgical, to prevent blood clotting.
Yeah.
And that's another product where we're iterating. And that's fun for me, right? To see ideas become working concepts, and then working products, and then products that the market is enthusiastic about. I mean, that's fantastic. I'm not a financial engineer, and I'm not a great operations person, but that's why you have a company. We have a fantastic chief operating officer. We have an incredible financial team now, and so I get to do the stuff that's fun for me, is ideate and think about what can we do, what's the market missing, what can we do to help people's lives.
It's almost like you're the chief product officer, sounds like.
I guess so. I'll hold on to the CEO title for now.
Yeah, for sure. Which reminds me that when I was at Zebra, right, we were building products and hardware. What I always like to do is to get feedback from customers, right? You build something, hey, why don't you just talk to the customers in healthcare, government, military, retail? I mean, when you build those products, do you also reach out to your customers and just to make sure you're on track? Yes.
Absolutely. So we try, and so it depends on what the product is. So for example, on the medical side, we do interface a lot with surgeons.
Yeah.
So for example, if we're trying to create a new product, for the hip or for the knee, we tend to talk to specialists in those areas, so that we're going down the right path. Because ultimately, we need to, on the medical side, we need to make a product that the physician will want to prescribe to their patient to help their patients through their recovery. So we kind of start with that, because the patients, we're probably not looking at the patient so much during the development. We're looking at the surgeon, because it's really the surgeon's tool or the athletic trainer's tool to help their athlete or their patient recover. And then once it's launched, then we kind of gather the feedback from the patient as it's getting used, and we start to see what kind of user errors are coming up. Are they having trouble putting the product on? And then we can refine from there. With the Palm cooling device or the other kind of more direct-to-consumer devices, that's when we're kind of in the development phase. That's where we're going to be more really directly connected to the end user. And seeing how do they use it. When I bring a set of rocks over to the Avalanche and they use them, then I come back and I talk to them, okay, what was the feedback? Did the players like the form factor? Did you have trouble charging it? Did the charge last long enough? We start collecting data there, which ultimately feeds into the final requirement and the final kind of specifications for the product.
That makes sense. Now, you talked about the benefits of using the product, but how would you summarize the benefit, for example, of using the rock right now? I mean, does it help you to get less fatigued, less cramping? You can do more reps when you do bench press and stuff like that. I mean,
so again, in a sports setting, it's going to help the athlete recover, let's say mid-game, and allow them to have a more effective halftime rest. Or in the case of hockey, they were coming off in between shifts. And using it. Hockey players are really interesting because they're wearing a lot of gear, and they're getting really gassed. So that's why they have so many shift changes. So during that shift change is an opportunity to rest and cool down. And this is just assisting that whole process so they can be fresher when they step back on the ice. Again, for the average person going to the gym, if your goal is to lift more and to get hypertrophy, then we can help through increased repetitions of whatever exercise you're working on. Look, people are already taking creatine. They're already investing in this world, right? I think the pre-workout supplement market globally is somewhere around $40 billion. So there's people already investing in it. They're just investing in supplements. And so you can achieve with supplements. It's not necessarily that we replace the supplements, but it's we can enhance your progress. Right. And if you're already interested enough in investing in creatine for your workouts, well, why not also invest in a non chemical or non-supplemental way to improve your results?
I mean, it's complementary, right? They're already investing in those types of modalities. So now, how would you say are your competitive advantages for the product that you have today, or even your business? I mean, what would you say?
Well, our competitive advantage today is probably our in-house engineering expertise.
Okay.
We've been, again, for the products that we're focused on today, which are cooling products, I would say that we have the best engineering team, certainly in the United States, around creating medical cooling products or performance cooling products. We have this team in-house here. And so our ability to ideate, prototype, create, iterate is, I would say, better than anybody on the market by a significant margin.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we have that going for us. And obviously the in-house and manufacturing here, whereas other people are manufacturing in China or other locations in Asia, gives us much more control over the quality and more ability to make marginal improvements as needed.
Mm-hmm.
So we never stop. Every day we get here, is there some way this can be better? Are we seeing any complaints about this? And another advantage of ours is because we started in the medical business, we have this very robust quality control system in our manufacturing, in our design, our manufacturing, our sales are all regulated by the FDA.
Yep.
And all subject to audit. So everything is being done at a level, especially the consumer goods are made at a level that's much higher than a normal consumer good company, just because of our pedigree as a medical device manufacturer.
That makes sense. Now, what would you say as far as what the teams likes about your product? I mean, you mentioned Colorado. I think I know Alexi Pianozzi with the head strength coach.
Yeah.
What do you think the teams liked about the product in general?
Number one, that it works.
Yeah.
Period. That's the most important thing. I think number two is its portability compared to the original product that was adopted by professional sports was the Cool-Mitt, which was really the kind of I'll call it the pioneering product in the palm cooling space. But it's not very convenient to use. So they did a good job of spreading the word of palm cooling and its benefits, but they created a product that is just really not convenient for the teams to take with them, to have multiple athletes using them. So certainly number one is effectiveness. Number two is convenience. It's an easy product to use. The batteries lasts for 2 hours. It recharges quickly. It has a nice, easy form factor. But at the end of the day, people like Alexi and other people, number one is, does it work or does it not work? That's it. That's the most important thing to them. But
sure. Now, can you talk about the business model? I mean, you talked about pricing earlier.
Yeah.
You said about the business model for any teams listening to this.
Yeah, for the Nice Rock, obviously we're manufacturing product and trying to make a normal markup and sell them. We obviously want it to be a mass market product, but we understand that that's not going to be an overnight. That's not going to happen overnight. So we need to really get the professionals. I think the percussion gun market is a good analog, right? If you think about, I remember in the early days when Hyperice and Theragun launched their products, they were really focused on sales to the professional teams, sales to physical therapists, sales to athletic trainers, people that could get their messages right away because they understood the underlying science behind it. And then, within a couple of years, your grandmother had a Theragun, and that was,
I mean, he's using a massage gun.
So I don't know, can we follow that same arc? I think potentially, yeah, I think we can. We're certainly going to get the uptake from the professionals. I'm not concerned about that. The question is, will the gym goer or the average person going to the gym see the benefit of this, or see this as another tool that they want to have in their toolbox for conditioning, for hypertrophy, for whatever they're trying to achieve at the gym.
Makes sense. So last question, what are your plans for the next 12 months? What are you guys trying to achieve? Maybe like you said, launching new products. Are you trying to raise some money, penetrate new markets?
No, we're fortunate that we built a very sustainable business. It's been profitable for, I think, the past 4 years now, and cash flow positive. So we're able to finance our projects all internally from the cash flow of our existing business. So when I look at our medical business going forward, it's really just expansion of the Nice One. International is going to be a big area of expansion for us with our medical business. With the Rock, it's going to be really the early adopter market, professional athletes, and people that, where the educational lead time will be shorter, right? You can give them research they'll look at the peer-reviewed research and they'll say, yes, this makes sense. They'll try the product, and then they'll try and figure out how to kind of implement it into their existing habits of how they do things. So that's the next 12 months. I don't expect we'll to see any massive uptake in the consumer market in the next 12 months. I think that's more a 24 to 36 month project. And then, really probably have 2 more products to market in the next 12 months, one medical, one non-medical, and then, just keep growing our staff here, expanding our footprint, and keeping our manufacturing in Boulder.
That's great. And I got to make a trip to Boulder. I got to say, visit Alexi and you guys hopefully at some point.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'd love to have you. It's a special place. I've been living here since 2009, and it's home. I don't really imagine living anywhere else at this point.
But that's great. Well, look, we're at the end of the podcast, but I want to thank you for your time today, and good luck with everything.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Julian. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Thank you for listening. To access past episodes and other research, articles, and analysis of sports technology, please visit our website, theupside.us. Subscribe to the Upside newsletter and receive full access to our sports tech business letter and website. Royalty-free music is provided by ibaudio.com. The Upside podcast provides timely insights and interviews with global leaders in sports technology. Until next time, keep looking to the upside.